It's really an important part of football. You can't have big plays in basketball where you can have layups and stuff like that. But in football, with big plays, the momentum really, really swings. You score 7 points a lot of the time. And I wanted to take a look at Georgia's big plays defensively that they've given up this season because they're playing about as big a big play offense as you're going to see in college football right now with Hendon Hooker and the Tennessee Vols coming into town. Georgia tracks this, and I track it too. And according to the University of Georgia, the defense has permitted 18 plays this season of 25 yards or more. So I wanted to take a look at those plays and see where they came out. When I did my counting, I counted 15 plays. So I've asked Georgia about it, and they're going to get back to me. But let's just take a look at the 15 plays that I saw. When did they happen? Okay. There were no big plays for the Dogs against the Dogs in the Oregon game or the Vanderbilt game. So in both of those games, they didn't give up a big play. Against Samford in the fourth quarter, there was a 36-yard pass with Georgia up 33 to nothing. South Carolina had two big plays. One was in the first quarter, a 46-yard pass from Spencer Rattler with the Dogs up 7-0. He turned it over about a play or two later, and the route was on. The other big play for South Carolina was in the fourth quarter with Georgia up 48 to nothing, a 26-yard pass, and eventually they scored on that drive. Kent State had three big plays against the Dogs, two in the second quarter. One was a 56-yard pass, which was a touchdown. I don't know if you remember that was just after Ladd McConkey's fumble. That was a very good play by the Kent State player. A 27-yard pass happened in the second quarter for Kent State as well. Georgia was up 12 to 3, and they were up 19 to 10 when those two plays occurred. The final big play for Kent State was with Georgia up 32 to 16, a 22-yard run. The team that had the most big plays against Georgia, believe it or not, was Missouri, which is really better at defense than it is offense. They had a 27-yard pass in the first quarter with the score tied. They had a 63-yard run up 13 to 3 on the Dogs. They did not score a touchdown on that drive. They had another 28-yard run against Georgia when they were up 19 to 12. In the second quarter, Missouri had a 36-yard pass when they were up 3 to nothing, and they had a 46-yard pass when they were up 16 to 9 in the third quarter. Missouri did not have a big play in the fourth quarter. They did not have a big play as soon as Georgia took the lead. Auburn had one big play. That was the 62-yard passing touchdown in the fourth quarter with Georgia up 35 to 3. The Gators had three big plays that I saw. Georgia said they had five, but I can't find them. One was a 78-yard pass from Anthony Richardson. I don't know if you remember that. That got the Gators within a touchdown. Georgia at that moment was up 28 to 13. Up 21 nothing. The Gators in the second quarter had a 41-yard pass, and they did not. I think they scored a field goal on that one. And then finally in the fourth quarter, down 42 to 20. This was the big play on the final drive of the game that Florida had, a 35-yard pass for Florida in that one. Now, what does this all mean? Okay, this is something I'm going to write a little bit further about over on Dog Post. But generally speaking, folks are having these big plays when the game is not really, I mean, about half the big plays are when the game is either totally out of reach or, Georgia has a significant lead. For instance, of the 15 plays, 5 of them have come in the fourth quarter with Georgia up double digits. So you have to wonder how many of those plays really had an impact on the game. How many of those were against the first team defense, Kelee, Ringo and company? Make sure you're picking up your pass. We have fewer than 60 of these spots remaining. Okay, I've not been talking about the number a lot, but you're running out of time to get it. If you want to meet Kelee, November 20th, the Sunday after the Kentucky game at Red Zone in Athens, We've got an event with Kelee. The details are down below. Make sure you're checking that out. See if you can make it. It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, the Sunday after the Kentucky game. Only two big plays all season in the first quarter. In the second quarter, you do see some big plays. There were five of them. So one third of Georgia's big plays have come in the second quarter. One third have come in the fourth quarter. There have been two in the first quarter, and there have been three in the third quarter. Two of those three were against Missouri. So Missouri had a big play in the first quarter, a couple of big plays in the second quarter, a couple of big plays in the third quarter, and none in the fourth quarter. So to some degree, um, a little bit to me is playing on the road. You know, it can be tough. You feel momentum. You saw that with the Gators on Saturday, but I think because of the way that Tennessee scores, and they score so fast, um, the question becomes: I firmly think Tennessee will score on big plays. I mean, it's just what it is. That's who they are. It's like a team that shoots a lot of threes. I mean, they're gonna make some threes. They're just going to, and they could get hot making threes too. Um, but Georgia just doesn't give up big plays. I mean, let's just say the university is correct. And again, I count for myself. Georgia's almost always right, but and I've asked them, and they'll get back with me, I'm sure. But let's say in 18 games, excuse me, in 18 plays over 8 games, the Dogs are giving up about two big plays a game. That's 25 yards or more. The biggest play this season so far was the 78-yard pass that Malachi Starks missed on in the Florida game. In other than that, I'll go through you know about a fourth, excuse me, about a third of the big plays were not for 30 yards. Um, so another 10 were 35 yards or more. So, once you start talking about 30-yard play, I mean, 30-yard play is certainly a, big deal moment. A 22, I actually have a Kent State, one of these is a mistake. I should not have that Kent State run in there because it's not 25 yards. So I actually have them at 14 big plays. But anyway, um, it is the question of this game. Can Georgia slow down Tennessee's big play? I mean, this game's going to have a lot to do with that. Um, I was asking a football buddy of mine, why is it that Tennessee seems to have guys running wide open all the time? And we both just thought it's got to be scheme. I mean, everybody doesn't bust coverages all the time. Maybe they do. We just don't. You don't see that at Georgia a ton. And so I think that Tennessee does a good job of confusing people, and that becomes problematic for the other team playing defense, particularly at Neyland. Particularly at Neyland. Now, on the flip side, Georgia's averaging 4.75 big plays a game, so that's 25 yards or more. Against Oregon, they had seven. This is on offense. At Oregon, they had seven. Against Samford, they had four against Carolina, which was a 78-yard touchdown to Brock Bowers, the longest play of the season so far. Against Kent State, Georgia only had three. Another one was Brock Bowers, a 75-yard touchdown. Game 5, the 35-yard run from Kendall Milton. That was they had six in Game 5. In Game 6, against Auburn, they had four big plays. A 64-yard touchdown from Stetson was a long. In Game 7, there were six big plays against Vandy, and against the Gators, you had four, one of which was a 73-yard touchdown from Bennett to Bowers. So usually your big plays are throws, but not always. And in this case, of the biggest plays of the 8 games, Brock Bowers is in 3 of them. They're not all passes, but Brock Bowers is in 3 of them. So it's going to be, you're talking about the two top offenses, statistically speaking, in the country. These guys really run up and down the field. Okay, and it is with big plays too. Now Tennessee's a big play offense than Georgia, I think for sure. But the average scoring drive for Georgia is like 7 plays. Tennessee scores. It is not abnormal for Tennessee to score in under a minute on a drive. In fact, against Alabama, they did that a couple of times. So, um, I- you know, this is going to be about the Dogs being able to slow Tennessee down enough to win the game. And the betting line has kind of stabilized at 8.5 or 9. The Sanford Stadium, the ticket prices are insane for this game. Insane. There's like a national championship is coming to Athens. A national championship game. National championship has already come to Athens. But like if you look at the Tennessee notes, they fly up and down the field. I mean, you don't need them to tell you how fast they are and how good they are at this stuff, but they really, really score fast. I mean, even last year, when Tennessee scored, they scored pretty quick against Georgia. They got down the field quick. So this is going to be a test really for Georgia's defense. Tennessee's really good at getting the ball. They've got 16 turnovers this season. That's a lot. That's 2 a game. So they turn it over too. Don't get me wrong, but they get up and down the field fast. They really like to what's the word? I mean, they like to score as fast as possible. I mean, it didn't even take them a minute to score their first touchdown of the season, and they were just off. And it's hard to ignore when you score and score and score and score. I mean, they get up and down the field. The time of possession is irrelevant to them. They want time on the scoreboard, right? So can Georgia slow these guys down? Um, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I mean, the way that Tennessee scores is an extremely challenging time. Sanford Stadium's gonna have to matter. And you know, Death Valley at noon, there was a lot of complaining at LSU about that. And the only other legitimate road game they played was at Pitt, and they went into overtime. And Pittsburgh's not Sanford Stadium. So I think if the crowd matters, it's going to be tougher for Tennessee. And that's probably one reason why you see the Dogs favored.